so baby, I'm trying to get away. Trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blind old boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been tight in the lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard, 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box, and I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars, so a tropical place. So, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know it's a boss, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti. Yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the ran do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, now taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in the greatest state.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. That's Maddie. We are here with our early NFL Sunday pregame show. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. I feel like complete ass right now, but this is what we do, so we're going to battle through.
Yeah, an early Sunday pregame show so people can catch more of it, and we'll see how this kind of goes doing on a Saturday. We'll see how people enjoy doing on the Saturday compared to the Sunday. So we'll give this a bit of a try, and we might go back to the Sunday depending on how this goes. So I hope you guys enjoy the show, and we're going to start, Jay, with reacting to Thursday night's football. Now, what a game! The Jets 24, the Pats 3. I mean, probably one of the least surprising surprises of all time. I thought the Pats would play that a lot closer. But then as I watched the game, I just thought, oh, the Jets are miles better. And Jay, is this the beginning of Aaron Rodgers' MVP push for this season?
Did you see what I put in the group chat during the game?
I don't think so.
I put, he's back.
Yeah, I thought he played an absolutely amazing game, Jay. I thought that is probably the best we've seen him since his last MVP season, which I know he's been injured for quite he got injured last season as well, but his final season in Green Bay was not great either, barely threw for over 300 yards, but he was amazing on Thursday night. It was absolutely incredible.
Everybody wants to keep using that last year in Green Bay like they didn't just get rid of every one of his weapons. Lost his left tackle, and we're like, here, Aaron, figure it out with guys you have no idea who they are.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. I mean, the same with the Jets, right? But
the Jets have talent. Like, these guys were rookies. Even if they were talented, and Watson and Reed and fucking Dobbs, he had nobody anymore to throw to that he knew. Aaron Jones gets injured. Then he even had a time where A.J. Dillon was injured in there. Doesn't have Bakhtiari as his left tackle. I think he gets a lot of heat for that last season. It had nothing to do with him.
Yeah, but I think this game was definitely the best that we've seen him since before that season. Since the season before that. Like, he won
the MVP the season before that, correct?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what
I'm saying. That's the run of the COVID MVP run. Yeah, okay.
He won his second MVP the season before that. And I think this is the best that we've seen him since that season. Maybe there was a game against Dallas when he was in Green Bay, I think, in his last season, that he looked amazing about halfway through that season. It was when they started to make that big push for the playoffs in his last season in Green Bay, and they didn't quite make it. Maybe it's the best game since then because he was amazing that day as well. But I thought with Aaron Rodgers there, I thought the thing that was the most impressive was how good he looked outside of the pocket. How good he looked throwing on the run. He's always been talented in terms of throwing the ball on the run, but it was an excellent actual display of mobility as well. I thought it was really impressive. And also just the pre-snap stuff with Aaron Rodgers. Like, he was dicing them up. And the Pats defense is decent, like an average middle of the road defense with good defensive coaching. Whether it's good head coaching, we'll find out, but good defensive coaching, good defensive culture, obviously, in New England. I thought he looked amazing. And Jay, I thought his weapons looked really amazing too. Which Jets weapon were you most impressed with?
Allen on Wisconsin.
Yeah, I thought like the running back room that they've got there in the Jets was awesome. I thought it was really, really I thought it was really great. I think it's a really great running back room. Obviously, Breece Hall is probably one of the best young running backs in the league, if not one of already the best running backs in the league. And Allen, like he just took to that game straight away. Like he just looked amazing. And I think that will be really important for Breece Hall going forward, because obviously last season he was getting a crazy amount of touches, which led to him getting an injury. So him being able to have that those breaks, I think will actually be really good. And I've seen a few fantasy managers getting a bit upset, being like, oh, he'll get less touches. But it's like, no, like he'll have more meaningful touches now. Like he's not just getting run into the ground. And yeah, you might score 20 points instead of 24 points, but at least you'll get that 20 points every single week, rather than he'll be injured by week 14 or something. So then you miss out on 40 points at the end of the season. So I think that was really impressive.
It's fun to watch the oldest guy in the league give the ball to the youngest guy in the league.
Yeah, that's always fun as well. And I think that really just sums up the Jets, weirdly. Like the Jets feel like a really young organization in a lot of parts. And then what they've done is like just taken a load of old guys.
A good mixture.
To build the team. And I think it is a really good mixture, because if you think about it, they've got Garrett Wilson, who has won a Rookie Offensive Player of the Year. They've got a Sauce Gardner, who's won a Defensive Player of the Year. They have Allen, who looked really good. Breece Hall, who looked really good. But on the other side of Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams. Mike Williams had an excellent game, really understated how excellent his game was. Alan Lazard. Now, I said there was a big drop-off to Alan Lazard from Garrett Wilson, and I still believe that. But there's not a big drop-off when it's Aaron Rodgers thrown to Alan Lazard, it seems. I think
that's because they played together for a million years, right? And Rodgers knows that no matter what's called or what's going on, Lazard will always be in the right place.
Yeah, and he is really good on the move as well. He's really good when Rodgers was on the move, Lazard was always there as well. You then mash that with the fact that their offensive line now is looking decent. Obviously Moses went down with an injury, which I thought really spoke volumes to their draft. It made me really value the fact that they drafted their offensive tackle in the draft this year, rather than just going for Brock Bowers in another weapon, which they could have gone for Brock Bowers, could have had another weapon, could have had a crazy offense put together. But as we learn, if Aaron Rodgers can't stand up because his offensive line can't deal with him. So the fact that they got another offensive tackle in the draft, Olufashinu, is it? In the draft, I think I can't remember. But him coming off the bench solidifies that position for them. So yeah, and for me, their most impressive weapon was Conklin. I thought Tyler Conklin had a great game. I think he then is the missing part of that offense, where it's a big-bodied, tight end down the field, can block. So if the offensive line is having its struggles, he can get in and block, and he can also make catches down the field. And there was a few plays last night on Thursday, where he was rumbling, and when he's rumbling, you've got to keep out the way of it.
Well, Conklin was on an upward trajectory to the point where he was being dubbed Gronklin. And then he decided, I'm going to leave a guy like Kirk Cousins who can throw the ball and go play with Zach Wilson. And then we didn't hear from him again. So now you're just seeing how talented he is with a guy who can actually throw the ball.
Yeah, and I thought he was excellent as well. And Garrett Wilson had a great game against Christian Gonzalez, I thought, because Christian Gonzalez is going to shut you down on most plays, especially the fact that they're going to throw away from you. But he got a nice touchdown, which amazing ball placement from Aaron Rodgers. And there was a few plays where you could see they're still trying to find their feet together in terms of I think there's a throw to the sideline that Garrett Wilson just runs 2 steps too deep and stuff like that. So once they get connected, then that's a scary offensive side of the ball.
Well, and that one on the sideline, Garrett Wilson will get that foot in from here on out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he kind of lost where he was, and I don't think that'll ever happen again, because that offense they'll get on him and I don't think they'll be dicks, but they'll be like, hey, drag that foot, this and that. I don't think you'll have that problem again on the sideline.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another big talking point from that Jets win is excellent defensive play, especially in the secondary, and stuff in the run. Ramondre Stevenson got 0.3 fantasy points this week after being
Baller.
after being a 20-point fantasy scorer the whole time. So yeah, we were worried about their ability to stop the run. And the biggest loser from last night, we knew the Patriots wouldn't be bad. But the biggest loser, Hassan Reddick. Like Hassan Reddick, now they've shown that they can stop the run against a good running team. Your hand is getting forced. Let's see if he comes to the table. Because if he comes to the table, this defense is scary as well.
I think the biggest loser from last night was the Patriots because you saw that Drake Maye is not good.
Yeah, so
what I know they're going to say it's the offensive line, but even when he had time to throw, not good.
So what I wanted to say to you, Jay, is this the beginning of the Drake Maye era in New England? Because I looked at it. This is the biggest talking point in the New England game, really. Like, there's not much else to say.
They will get him murdered if they start.
Yeah, they completely outplayed by another team. I was watching Drake Maye and I was worried for him. Like, I was worried for Drake Maye because of the offensive line not playing well. I was worried for Drake Maye because of the game position that they play him into, where they're obviously going to be throwing it. And I was worried for Drake Maye because he's not accurate. He's not an accurate thrower of the ball, which I think most people said going into the draft. So I have no idea what they were doing drafting him at 3, but that's where we're at. So did we get any knowledge on Jacoby Brissett's injury? I don't remember
it. He just got beat up. Like, they took him out because it was garbage dead time to get Drake Maye some snaps. Jacoby Brissett's going to start, but if I'm not, like, he's gotten murdered like 8 times this year. Like, they are so in trouble.
Yeah, and I think people saying, oh, they might just start playing Drake Maye now because Jacoby looks so bad. I think you're just going to get him killed. Like, you're just going to get Drake Maye killed. And if you have no one to throw to, he's never going to look good.
This sounds shitty, but you'd rather get Jacoby Brissett murdered than Drake Maye. So they're going to stay with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this is what we thought the New England Patriots were going to be, right? Because they only gave up 24 points, considering how dominant that was. They still only gave up 24 points. It's just they only scored 3, So this is who we thought the New England Patriots were going to be. This is what they're going to look like for the rest of the season. Turns out week 1 and week 2 were high points for them. And I imagine this is what it's going to look like from now.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But I already told you, I'm not a big believer in Jerod Mayo like everybody else. So we'll see if I'm right or they're right. To me, it looks like he's literally just copying everything Bill Belichick did.
Yeah, I think he's a good defensive mind, but we'll see how he.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with him as like a defensive coordinator or anything like that. I don't know if he's a head coach, and I'm not sold on him. And I know some people are going to give me heat for that, but show me something. Yeah, because you beat the Bengals, which is more on the Bengals than it is about New England.
Yeah, I think also, like, the definition of insanity is just doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? Like, the Patriots saw that unless you have an amazing quarterback like Tom Brady, this style of coaching doesn't work. And that's where we're at now. I mean, the Jets are making it work, but they have an amazing quarterback, right? Because you can say that Robert Saleh's the same, right?
Did you see that weird exchange?
No.
So they're talking about it all on the news. After he throws that touchdown, he comes to the sideline. Saleh goes to hug him. Rodgers hits him in the chest. Rodgers walks away, gives him the evil eye. My wife looks at me, who knows nothing about football, and goes, he gave him a dirty look. I'm like, them two don't like each other, right? Like, yeah. And then Rodgers is like, oh, he's not a hugger. I thought he was coming in to slap me on the chest, which might be true. But the weird look he gave him on the way out, it was just this weird turn of the head and this glare that, yeah, you could tell they need each other, but they don't like each other.
Yeah, there'll always be drama around the Jets. That's for sure. Okay, moving on to Sunday. Week 3 of the NFL season, Jay, throws up some interesting betting lines for us. One thing that I wanted to point out before we start is I think they've started off the betting lines kind of semi-cautious so far this year. Like we've got no double-digit crazy betting lines or anything like that. The biggest one this week is one that I don't understand why it's so big, actually. So maybe I'm wrong here, but it's -7.5 between the Commanders and the Bengals. But there's a few out there where you think, oh, maybe later in the season, these will be some pretty big betting lines. All right, we're going to start off with one of those ones where I think this would be a bigger, better line later on in the season. We'll be quick on this one, Jay. It's the Bucs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing the Denver Broncos in Tampa. The Bucs are favored by -6. And Jay, can the Broncos O line block the injury-stricken Bucs D line? That's the top and tail of this tie.
That's what makes me nervous, and that's what makes me go back and forth on this game, because I don't think there's a question that the Bucs win this game. But I decided last night to go watch 40-minute, well, they were 38-minute versions on YouTube of the game. And Bo Nix's ass, and so give me the Bucs -6.
Yeah, I did the same, because I was like, do you know what? I need to give Bo Nix even more viewing time just to make sure that I'm seeing this right, because I'm not an avid Denver Broncos watcher. So I went and watched their game from last week on the 40 minutes, and yeah, I agree. He just doesn't look like he's totally cut out for the NFL. And look, to add to this, the Bucs are a really good football team, and I think they're being heavily disrespected throughout. And yeah, look, they might not get to sack Bo Nix. Like Bo Nix might have some time to throw in this game, but Bo Nix has had time to throw. In his last game, he didn't. He was getting pressured. He was getting pressured a lot. The Broncos defensive line is okay, but TJ Watt had just a crazy game again. But he did have time to throw in those games, and even when he had time to throw, he was missing. So I'm taking the Bucs as well at -6 here. I think if the Broncos are sensible, they try and run it down the Bucs' throat as much as possible while they're without players like Vita Vea. That's what their game plan needs to be. Okay, so another game with 6.5 point spread. This one, we've got the Cleveland Browns, who are 6.5 point favorites, versus the New York Giants. Are you surprised by the size of this spread, Jay? I feel like this one's pretty big.
No, because the Giants are just fucking ass. Like, the Giants may be the worst team in the NFL. Them and the Panthers.
The Panthers are the worst.
I don't know. I think the Panthers might be better than the Giants. If they played right now with Andy Dalton, I think the Panthers might win, is the thing. So, I don't know. They're both pretty ass. I think they're going to be fighting for the first pick in the draft.
Really? So, well, my other thing is, I'm not sure who has the worst quarterback at the moment. I'm not sure that Deshaun Watson is that much better than Daniel Jones. Like, I
don't care if you think he's that much better, but you're sure on who has the worst quarterback. Let's be real.
But not by a lot. Like, there are some days where Deshaun Watson looks worse than Daniel Jones.
And Deshaun Watson looked pretty good at times last week. I don't know. Like,
he looked better.
And he's way more talented than Jones, and we've actually seen him do it. Like, I would take Deshaun Watson minus off-field things. That has a lot to, like, just say they didn't happen. I would take this Deshaun Watson over Daniel Jones every day. But I have never been a fan of Daniel Jones.
Yeah. With the Giants and Daniel Jones, what I don't understand is look, you're probably not going to renew his contract. So how much do you care about him getting beaten up, right? So why aren't they running Daniel Jones more? Because Daniel Jones is a good athlete. All right, he had that trip on the 80-yard line or whatever it was when he was going to go in for a 93-yard touchdown. But Daniel Jones is a really, really good athlete. So I don't understand why they don't run him more when they have so little in terms of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. They don't really have many people for him to throw to. Like, Malik Neighbors is good, but you don't have the offensive line to hold it for as long as Malik Neighbors needs to get downfield. The running back room is desperate after Saquon Barkley is gone. Singletary's fine, but but Daniel Jones is an athlete, and I just think they could use him in a more creative way if they just went, look, I'm not worried about Daniel Jones getting absolutely smoked. Like, I know that's a really shit thing to say, but I'm not worried about that if I'm Daboll.
No, I agree with that. And way to hold it down because nobody wants to watch me blow my nose right now. But
so Jay, Browns are 6.5 point favorites. Who have you got?
give me the Browns -6.5, but I hate the spread, but the Giants are that bad.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants in this one. I think the spread is too big for the Browns. I think that's too big for the Browns game. I think the Browns are going to win. Definitely. I think.
Well, now that you're locked in, you're going to regret this later when you're thinking through, when you go to position by position, the Browns are so much more talented.
No, I agree with you. I just think the style of football that they play does not lend themselves to a 6.5 point victory.
They could have 21 points off the running game in this game.
Yeah, that's true. I have taken Foreman into my fantasy team, and I'm debating whether to play him. So we'll see where we get. We'll see where we get there. But I'm going to take the Giants in this one. I think they've played a couple of close games so far. The Giants against not so great teams, but I'm not sure how great the Browns are. Okay. Whatever the over-under is on that game, I might just spam the over, even if it's like 37 points or something. Okay, our first big game. On our notes, everybody, I highlight the big games, the games that I think are the big ones in bold and red. And this is our first big game of the week, Jay. The Saints are -3 point favorites versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Jay, if the Saints get another dominant win here, do we begin to call them contenders?
Yeah, and just to start out, I'm taking the Saints -3 only because I've learned a long time ago, ride the hot hand. They're a hot hand. Even if they come back down to earth, I'm willing to ride that until that meteor burns out. Or would that be an asteroid that burns out? I'm not quite sure. But you guys are a meteorite. I'm never sure what the difference between the three.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the Saints are the hot hand in the NFL here. And I think if they get a dominant win here, like even if they just win by 3 points here, to be honest, then I think we do have to start calling them contenders, because then they've beaten the Cowboys and the Eagles, the Eagles, at least we thought might be Super Bowl contenders. Both the Cowboys and the Eagles seem to always be NFC contenders at some point. Just the Cowboys obviously can't make it to the NFC Championship game, which makes them not NFC contenders ever, because we know they won't make it again. But they're always towards the top of the seedings in the NFC recently. So if the Saints beat the Cowboys and the Eagles, I think that definitely lends them to be contenders. I also think this is a really bad matchup for the Eagles. And I'm not hating on the Eagles here, because obviously the Saints the Saints handled the Cowboys. And I think I could see, I don't think the Eagles are going to get handled in the same way as the Cowboys did, because they're much more physical. But Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter for the Eagles, have not been there this season for me. I think they've disappeared. I think the middle of their defensive line is not living up to its potential. And I think Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons showed that last week. And I think the Saints are better at running those inside zones and outside zones and really moving your defensive line than the Eagles are. It's going to look like the Saints, like with the Cowboys, it's going to look like the Saints beat you downfield with huge over-the-top passes, but they don't. They beat you in the trenches. And I think the Eagles have struggled more in the trenches than like you would expect them to be in the Eagles, and that's where they usually win.
The only place I disagree with you is I think Jalen Carter is getting a lot of heat, and he's eating up 2 blocks like he's supposed to. It's the linebackers being out of place. And I've heard other people on TV beat him up too. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm watching him do exactly what he should be doing, eating up 2 blocks and opening up. And there's not a linebacker to be found. It's like I text you that night and I'm like, what is the fuck with all these, or in the group chat, what the fuck is with all these linebackers being out of place? Like, and these first couple of weeks, linebackers are nowhere to be found where they're supposed to be. I'm like, I don't know what's going on in the NFL with them not being lined up where they're supposed to.
It's what happens when at college you keep on taking guys who should be playing linebacker and you start playing them safety because now everybody wants massive safeties. Like that's what we're up to.
And if you look, the Vikings did the exact opposite. They took safeties and moved them to linebacker.
Yeah, right. Like that's what you should be doing, right? But I don't know. I think the linebacker is a hugely devalued position. People see it like the running back as well, but I see the linebacker as super, super important in every facet of the game. I think a really great linebacker makes a difference. I think a good linebacker doesn't make too much of a difference, but the player that makes the biggest difference in a defense is a really bad linebacker core. If you have bad linebackers, the rest of your defense falls apart because they hold it down, So if you're going towards good, like amazing linebackers, okay, like Bobby Wagner can change a game, for example, could change a game, and Fred Warner can change games as well.
Minnesota's defense is not what it is without Pace and Brian Cashman. So I think your linebackers are what like the glue that keeps the whole thing together. And I don't know. I've been seeing some bad linebacker play. I even said it when we were talking about your Cowboys last week. Like the inside linebackers are not where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where the
Which
Saints
is weird because it's Eric Kendricks. That was weird to me. So
yeah. Maybe it's something to do with the Saints because, again, the Saints' offensive line has been brilliant. And that's why I think they'll overpower the Eagles because the Eagles' defensive line has not been getting any pressure. We gave them the pass in week 1 because of the turf in Brazil. Last week, they didn't get much pressure on Kirk Cousins either. And that's could largely be to do with the Falcons looking much better running play action. And their offensive line is PFF graded last year in the top 10 of offensive lines in the NFL. So there are other reasons for that, but the Saints look excellent. And Derrick Carr, without pressure on him, looks like a totally different quarterback. Jay, when are you expecting Derrick Carr to drop off? Because he's currently got a passer rating of 142.
Do we mean drop off, like not be as great, or become Derrick Carr of Las Vegas? Like,
I don't know.
Because I don't think he becomes that Derrick Carr with this team. I can definitely see Derrick Carr finishing the season as a top 10 quarterback. Do I think I see him finishing as a top 5? No. And that's where he is right now.
Yeah. And what'll be interesting to see is when that drop off does come, how good will the Saints be? Because no quarterback in the NFL should be hitting. I think he's hitting like it's either 80 or 85% of deep shots at the moment. And that's just like if you get 50% of deep shots down the field, you're playing really great at quarterback. And Derek Carr is currently hitting 80 to 85% of deep shots down the field. Jay, you're picking the Saints on the -3. I'm also picking the Saints at the -3. I think in the Superdome as well, that makes a big difference as well. I don't love it though. I could easily see the Eagles winning that game and the Saints just coming crashing down to earth. Okay, Jay, now we go for basically the same two teams in the NFL. We have the Steelers as -3-point favorites against the Chargers. Jay, have you seen this? Will Justin Herbert be playing in week 3?
I don't care.
You don't care? Does it not make a big difference to you?
No, they're going to run the ball fucking 80 times. Like, they're going to play defense. And Justin Herbert's going to play. I don't care what they say. Justin Herbert's going to play.
Yeah, Justin Herbert came out and said he had a high ankle sprain from the game last week. I think he's going to play. I think we saw him running the ball a bit last week. And I think maybe they should shy away from that. Like, I like Justin Herbert running the ball. I've always thought he'd be good for running the ball. But I don't mean like designed runs where he needs to run over a linebacker. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean in like the play breaks down, run the ball. So yeah, I think Justin Herbert will play in week 3. I think we would have heard a bit earlier.
So 1 hour ago, Ian Rappaport says the Chargers are optimistic that Justin Herbert will start Sunday at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that means he's going to be starting Sunday at Pittsburgh, doesn't it? The other side of this quarterback discussion, Jay, is Justin Fields is having a better season than people realize, ?
No,
okay.
No. And I'm still not sure when he's healthy, they're not going to go back to Russell Wilson, even though I don't think they will. or they should. But he's not giving you any big, huge plays. They're not blowing people out. No, he gave you a couple good throws. That's it. He's not. No. Go look at his stat lines. The motherfucker's got like fucking what?
Right. Did he like the game last week, right? The game last week, he makes one of the best throws that you'll see on the run, spear 40 yards down the field, and they get pulled back for and Pickens is also makes an absolutely unbelievable catch as well. And they get brought back for offensive line holding. They then also makes another 30-yard throw down the field. Huh?
It never happened.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I mean. Like, he's having a better season. He's having a better season than his stat line suggests. And his ball placement last week was excellent. Like, compared to who Justin Fields is. Like, we know that Justin Fields isn't a great passer. But last week, his ball placement, putting it in the places where defenders just couldn't get the ball. He looked excellent, I thought.
Week 1, 17 completions, 156 yards. Ooh, he's blowing us away with big plays. Week 2, 13 completions for 117 yards. This fucking guy is amazing. He's blowing us away with huge plays. I watched fucking Sam Darnold almost get his complete stats in one play.
Justin Fields last week got so many big throws. Got so many big throws brought back for penalties from his own team. And yes, that means they don't happen, but it also means that he's actually throwing the ball better than
hold. He doesn't get the ball off. So like
it was a hold on the opposite side of it was a hold on the opposite side of the offensive line. The flag comes out as the ball's being thrown, and he's already bootlegged out to the right when the hold comes on the left-hand side. Like he's got like the hold was miles away from where Justin Fields was, and the ball came out way earlier. But it was an amazing throw, and he got called back. And look, I don't think that Justin Fields.
When he played the Lions in the preseason, he had 3 completions for 40 yards.
I don't think that Justin Fields
deep threat balling.
I don't think that Justin Fields is like an amazing quarterback, an amazing throw of the ball. What I do like about him is that he's looking down the field. He's looking down the field more before he
he's my fantasy quarterback, and there's still at least 5-6 backups in the league better than him.
I don't know. I think he's playing a much better season than people give him credit for. Jay, when does Russell Wilson get his job back?
Who's better, him or Tyler Huntley?
Him. Justin Fields.
I'm fucking leaving. Tyler Huntley's fucking had huge games in the biggest games of fucking you can have in the NFL to make the playoffs. He's had big games in a playoff game. Fucking a guy who gets 117 yards is better.
Justin Fields hasn't had the one. This is the best offensive position that Justin Fields has been in.
Yeah, the Bears had fucking that, or I mean, the Ravens were just stacked on. Well, Tyler Huntley was playing, right?
Well, yeah, Mark Andrews would be the best player that Justin Fields has ever
played. I don't
played
understand how every year you find a weird way to hold on to your love for Justin Fields. I don't know when you're just finally going to say he fucking sucks. I don't know when we're going to get there.
I just think he had a better game last week than his stat line show. I thought his ball placement was excellent, and I think he had a lot of big plays taken back.
Give me the Chargers in the money line.
Yeah, also give me the Chargers, but I'm just going to take the points on that one. But
wait, you just told me that Justin Fields was a fucking Hall of Famer.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said. If you look at our show,
are you comparing him to high school quarterbacks? I'm not sure where we're going. I just
said he had a better game. I just said he's got a better game. He's having a better games than his stat line suggests. That's all I'm saying.
He played better with the Bears.
I said in that analysis that Justin Fields isn't the best thrower of the ball. Like he just
was
last week.
If you look at explosive plays, he was better with the Bears because he did it with his legs.
Yeah, because the Steelers O-line keep on giving away penalties every time he makes a decent throw down the field.
Yeah, he ran for almost 300. I mean, like a quarterback to 200 yards, that 180 something to set that record, or 210, whatever it was. Like he was way more explosive with the Bears than he is the Steelers.
I don't know Like there was a couple of throws last week that got brought back that were just immense, like very impressive. But I don't think he's amazing. I think Justin Herbert is better. I was just simply saying that he's having a much better, like especially last
Andy
game was much
Dalton's
better than
better.
people realize. Andy Dalton isn't better, but yeah.
Justin Fields might be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Well, Daniel Jones. Him and Daniel Jones, 2 worst starting quarterbacks.
No, because I think Justin Fields is a better runner than all of them. He's just being told not to run in the Steelers' offense.
You were just telling me he was an elite passer.
I don't know. I just said he's a much better passer than people have realized this year in the last game.
Green Bay West got this kid I think can outthrow Justin Fields, but I'm just saying. I can't wrap my head around your love for Justin Fields. I don't get it.
That's fair. So we're both taking the Chargers in that game. I think I do think the Chargers have the better quarterback. I just think Justin Fields looked better last week than people are giving credit for. Jay, next big game for us in our podcast is the Minnesota Vikings are playing against the Houston Texans. The Texans are minus 1.5 favorites. It's in Minnesota. Jay, can CJ Stroud read this defense better than Brock Purdy did last week?
I don't know about read it. I think it'll come down. Can Steikens or not Steikens? Why do I always forget Stoic? Bobby Slowick. Can he out scheme the defense? This is a game too where Jordan Addison isn't playing, Pace isn't playing, fucking Dallas Turner's out, so that really hurts the Vikings. I still think the Vikings have a shot to win this game, but I'm taking the Texans in this game minus the 1.5. CJ Stroud is more talented than Brock Purdy, though, and there's three-headed monster. So this game comes down to, for me, now the offensive line hasn't looked wonderful, but Stroud can move around. Can they pressure Stroud enough to get the ball out of his hands so that the corners don't have to cover for 4 to 5 seconds?
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to the other side of the ball as well, where the Texans defense might be under the radar elite. Like if you look at the Texans defense, like Derek Stingley has come out playing really well. I can't remember the cornerback on the other side, who's also having excellent stats. And then you've got that defensive line with Danielle Hunter and Anderson as well. And I think they look.
I love Danielle Hunter, but what people don't realize is when he gets double-digit stacks, it's because he gets 3 or 4 in one game. Like so he's not as consistent as everybody thinks. Like I've watched Hunter since he was 19 years old play for the Vikings. So like he's great, don't get me wrong. But I think Anderson's the one they have to watch more.
Yeah.
I also, that's not a shot at Danielle Hunter either. Like he's amazing, but I think Anderson's the one they have to watch more. And I think I've told people before, watch Jalen Naylor. You are going to know the name by the end of the year. Another kid who balled out in preseason and looked like he can be something. So now he's got to step up and prove it. Tristan Jackson. I want to see what Tristan Jackson does for the Minnesota Vikings this week.
Yeah, and I think if they can scheme some really quick throws from Sam Darnold, like get the ball out of his hands early, which he has been doing. A lot of anticipation throws, very, very accurate, really impressive. All the way through.
I want your opinion on this. If I'm the Vikings, Flores runs a lot of different schemes, but what I do is, so I put Shaq Griffin on Nico Collins and then double him the whole fucking game. And then I take Stephon Gilmore and I let him ride Stephon Diggs and I let Byron Murphy play against Tank Dell because he's faster. And then I have them lock up that way, all 3 of those guys all game. Like, I'm not saying to lock them down. I'm just saying this is what we're doing. We're taking our second best corner and we're doubling him with a safety. We're taking our best corner. We're singling him on Diggs. And then we're going to take our fastest corner in Byron Murphy and we're going to put him on Tank Dell. Yeah,
I also think with I like the Stephon Gilmore versus Diggs the matchup. I actually quite like that. That's the kind of wide receiver that Gilmore can take out of the game.
You can't let Nico Collins beat you, though. You can't.
No.
So you got to double Nico, and you got to put Byron Murphy on Tank Dell because of the speed.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what a lot of people haven't been saying, because it's the three-headed wide receiver monsters. Like, wow, that's amazing. At the Texans, like, this is crazy. But it all is based off the run game and the fact that Mixon was coming in and just making yards after yards after yards. Like, Mixon has looked amazing. Well, Mixon's out and Pierce is out. They're starting the game with Cam Akers. And now Cam Akers can also run for 200 yards, by the way.
Cam Akers was supposed to come back to Minnesota and at the last minute went to the Texans, which really hurt because it was actually reported. He passed his physical. He's coming back to Minnesota. And then 3 hours later, it's like he signs with the Texans. And we're like, what? I thought he was a Viking. I love Cam Akers, but he's not as great on the blitz pickup because he's a smaller dude. It's not that he can't do it, but like you watch him get shot like across the field sometimes. Brian Flores is blitzed less this year. It just looks like he's still blitzing as much because of the fronts, and he comes from weird places. But he was blitzing. Yeah, he was blitzing at a clip of 51% last year. Now he's down to like 40, right? You're going to see 51% again, though, because of Dallas Turner and Ivan Pace out of this game. He is going to blitz the shit out of CJ Stroud. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to make Stroud uncomfortable and get rid of the ball. I don't know. I think this could be a really fun game. I still really think the Vikings had a shot at winning it, but I'm taking the Texans for the betting.
Yeah, I'll take the Texans on that one as well. I don't like betting against the Vikings this season. That doesn't feel good to me.
I would never bet for or against the Vikings in real life anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, because I the same with the Cowboys. Like, I would never bet on them.
You're never clear-headed enough, are you? Like, when it comes to your own team?
No. But I think with the Texans, what we've been saying, so they started out the season with 2 big point spreads and got beat against the spread both times. I believe I might have been. Hang on, let me just check that. The Texans last week, 6.5 against the Bears, which they didn't make last week, and the Texans. Where are they? They were only given 3 points against the Colts, but they didn't make that either, because they won the game, but only by 1 point. So I think with the Texans, I think they are a team that is looking like it's more built for just beating teams, like just getting those wins, which is all that matters. But so a 1.5 point spread feels a lot better than, say, a 3 point spread with the Texans at the moment and the way that they're playing the game. A team that does have a 3 point spread is the Titans, 3 point favorites against the Packers. Jay, Malik Willis revenge game. Who's going to have the better game, Malik Willis or Will Levis?
Will Levis.
Why?
Because Malik Willis looked like shit, except for the fact that Matt LaFleur coached them to a victory.
Yeah, definitely.
And they win that game if there's not a block punt and Will Levis doesn't think he's Carson Wentz.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Malik Willis, I think Matt LaFleur is showing why he's an excellent coach, right? Like, when he first started, it was like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is there. I'm
still not sold on LaFleur, but we can get in that whole discussion another day because that's a long discussion.
I think LaFleur offensively is good. And I also agree with you that I think the Titans have maybe been the better team in both of their games so far this year and have 2 losses. Like, I know that doesn't make sense because obviously if you're the better team for 4 quarters, then you get the win, right?
Yeah, because like Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think especially in that Bears game, I can't believe that they didn't win that. Like, every time I tuned into that game, it was like the Titans were all over them. The Titans looked way better, and then Will Levis shit the bed and gave that game away. And last week, look, there's no harm in going down to the Jets, but they were beating the Jets for at least the first half of that game, maybe even the first 3 quarters. They were better than the Jets in that game. Now, can Will Levis learn from his mistakes so far this season? What do you think about that?
Maybe. It seems like it's just bred into him to be that kind of guy, but we'll see. He's young. Maybe you can get him. Maybe that's what he needed, was to lose them a game and then go, look, I got to calm down. I thought Carson Wentz was going to calm down in Indy, and he never did. Like, he just kept doing wild shit. So I don't know. If he can figure out how to not make stupid fucking play. You can be a gunslinger and throw some picks, and your coach be like, fuck it, we'll live with that.
Yeah.
If the shit he did at the end of that game with that, if you know you're getting sacked, just fucking get sacked. Like,
yeah. It's fine. Like, it's
live
okay
to play another down.
Yeah, it's okay to take a sack when they're a decent football team as well. Like, the Titans are a decent football team, so it's not like you have to play hero ball like every single down, like just throw the ball away. But I don't want them to take that away from Will Levis, because that's what makes Will Levis like the quarterback that he is. I just
be the gunslinger. Don't do dumb shit like making ridiculous pitches that shouldn't be made.
Yes. If you're the Titans, you say throw the ball down the field. That's fine. If you just launch it into double and triple coverage, if you have to, like, if that's what you see, then go for it. Fine. If you're getting sacked, hold on to the fucking football. Like, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. We'll let you, once you get rid of these weird mistakes from Will Levis, you can then start to build other things. But until he stops these strange mistakes, you can't build anything with the Titans, because you never know like what he's going to do in those kind of situations.
That game reminded me of the game that got Mike Zimmer fired. Now, it wasn't this last game, but it was when Mike Zimmer lost to Cooper Rush. That nailed his coffin. Like, that's kind of what that felt like. Not that anybody's getting fired, but it felt like that big of a fuck up. Like, how do you lose to Cooper fucking Rush? Like, you're in a playoff race and you lose to Cooper fucking Rush. I feel like you have to be the Texans and go, how the fuck did we lose to the fucking
the Bears week one?
Yeah, the Bears. Like, how the fuck do we lose that game? How the fuck do we, like,
they were way bad. They were way bad.
Caleb Williams, who played complete ass. Like, how did we lose that game? Yeah.
And Jay, I think this game is their get-right game. I think they beat the Packers. I think also a week of tape to see what the hell Matt LaFleur was doing with Malik Willis. Like, I think that's going to help people play against Malik Willis. I'm going to take the Titans at the -3.
I'm with you. Titans -3.
Yeah, Jay, obviously they've listed Jordan Love as only questionable, I believe, for this game. I don't think he's going to play. I think they'd be dumb if they play him. Yeah, I think they'd be so stupid.
I don't think they're going to play him next week either.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Like, they really shouldn't.
If you're not 100% mobile, that's probably not the defense you should be playing against. But
yeah, definitely. And I think if they manage to get a win here, I think then that is a big step towards their playoff hopes, because it looks like Jordan Love will be home soon. Looks like John Love will be home soon. Looks like John Love will be back soon. And if you go out of the Malik Willis games with 2 wins, then you're pretty happy, because people had written them off at the start, including me. Okay, Jay, moving on to the Indianapolis Colts versus the Chicago Bears. The Colts are 1-point favorites at home. I think this is a pretty quick one. And the answers, for me, the big points of the game are we going to get week 1 Anthony Richardson, or are we going to get week 2 Anthony Richardson? I think that's the biggest question.
I think he can be somewhere in between and beat the fucking Bears, but like, you just can't be the Anthony Richardson that showed up to Green Bay. You can't be.
Yeah, I think that as well. I think we're always going to get up and down weeks with Anthony Richardson, but I just don't think he can have that down of a week, right? Like, that is the biggest down week.
The reason I'm taking the Colts in this game is Shane Steichen.
Yeah, I like Shane Steichen. He's
coach. Better than Eberflus, and that's they're both teams. I don't know. I looked at this and go, I literally thought to myself, do we really have to pick this game? Because, like, I don't know. They both have looked fucking awful at moments, right? And I'm just like, I trust the coaching better in Indianapolis. Give me the Colts. That was my hope. And I like the Colts offensive line.
Yeah, I think the Colts offensive line had a massive down year last year, and I don't think they were ever going to have as bad a year like that again. So I think the Bears defensive line looks decent. Personally, I think they're passing too much with Caleb Williams, but is that because they just can't form a run game? Like, what's what's that about? And I heard someone say, I can't remember who it was, but that, well, this is what Caleb Williams did in college. He put the team on his back and he went, I was like, yeah, but this is the NFL, man. And he's just starting out. So maybe you give like him some running.
I don't care about the painted fingernails. I don't care about the pink case for his phone. People make weird shit. What I do care about is his comments about CJ Stroud giving him advice after the game and him going, why do I need to take advice from him? That bothered me. Like, CJ just went through his rookie year. He's just trying to impart some wisdom on you. And even if you don't want to take it, why speak it? Why be the guy who says that?
And CJ Stroud,
what we said is between us, and that's over.
Yeah, and CJ Stroud had the best rookie season possibly of all time. Like, maybe that's a guy to listen to when you're in your rookie season.
But even if you don't want to, what makes you the guy who has to say you don't? Like, I don't understand. People give me advice all the time that I will never take, but I just say thank you and keep it moving.
Yeah, strange. Weird to go to the press with that. That was strange. I think the Bears could do him a really real favor by running more this game. And I think Keenan Allen is out again this week. And I think Keenan Allen for them is a bigger miss than people want to suggest. And I think when you sign old wide receivers, they're going to be injured, right? But Keenan Allen would be a big help for Caleb Williams. Like, he would help him out in certain situations that DJ Moore isn't built for and that Rome Odunze isn't built for.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat the dead horse on my thoughts on what I said about Keenan Allen. Like,
too
old. Yeah.
Rome Odunze missed a big catch last week.
Yeah, he's a rookie, so I'm not worried about him yet, but he has had some things that got to make you go,
Yeah, I've seen that as well. All right, Jay, another game that we don't have to speak about too much here is the Raiders, who are minus 6-point favorites versus the Panthers. I think, is this a potential come-down game for the Raiders after their big win against the Ravens?
No.
See, I think the Raiders could have a big come-down game and still beat the Panthers by 6. Like, that's like
I think their win against the Ravens is what propels them. I don't think people understand. Gardner Minshew can play football. He's a former Pro Bowler. He led the Colts in a good season last year, almost to the playoffs. Gardner Minshew, anytime he's got to play, has played above decent, right? So he's been better than decent. Like, I just don't. Gardner Minshew can play, and he's going to. And even if Andy Dalton comes in and steadies the ship, and I know everybody goes, you get that boost with a new quarterback. Besides Thielen, who is he going to throw to? Are we just going to play grandpa ball? Like, two old guys, like, trying to beat like another, and it's nothing against them, but they're both past their prime.
It's like a Thanksgiving game in the back garden with your granddad. That's what's
I love the Brit is the one who busted out the Thanksgiving joke too.
Yeah, well, we play American football on Christmas Day in my household, but you know,
but you guys don't even celebrate Thanksgiving, so that's the one that I'm like, leave it to the Brit to come with the Thanksgiving joke.
Yeah, I think Andy Dalton does make the Panthers better, not in the long term. I think Bryce Young would be the better bet to just stay with for the long term.
I think that defense might kill fucking Andy Dalton, but
yeah, I think Max Crosby is gonna feast like this week. I worry for the Panthers in that game. I think the Raiders are going to absolutely annihilate them. Jay, a team that I hope don't get annihilated by an excellent run game is the Dallas Cowboys, who are playing against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are minus 1 point favorites here with the game in Dallas. Jay, can the Cowboys deal with the Ravens run game?
You know, that was my lock. That was my lock. Cowboys. The Cowboys win this game. Huh?
I was surprised by this being your lock.
I really don't think the Cowboys will lose this game. They are more talented across the board than the Ravens. You can argue the quarterbacks, that's fine. Whatever you want, because you could probably have a split vote on that, right?
Yeah.
But then go like, I like the Ravens receiving core. I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb. Like,
yeah,
I know that people are going to give the edge and tight end to the Ravens? I don't think it really is. I don't. I don't think people give the Cowboys tight ends credit. I don't think they realize how athletic they are. And Mark Andrews is not what we watch Mark Andrews be. Will he be? It's only week 3, maybe, but he hasn't showed. And I really think that both defenses are suspect in the pass, and I think the Cowboys have a better rush. So I don't know where people are taking the Ravens, and the Ravens have not looked good. I think we're going to see an 0-3 Ravens.
I think the thing that worries me about this game is the thing that beats the Cowboys, right? And that's their defensive tackles. And our defensive tackles and our lightweight linebacker room going against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. If the Ravens just run Derrick Henry, I think they'll win this game. Now, do I think the Ravens will just run Derrick Henry? I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't seem like they feel like doing that at the moment. Like, I think where the Cowboys definitely win, Jay, is the Ravens' offensive line is poor, like, this season. Like, all of the Ravens' offensive moves with things like all of the Ravens' offseason moves with things like the offensive line seem to have not worked. And I think the Ravens' pass blocking is really poor. And obviously the Cowboys' pass rush is elite. So I'm not sure the Ravens are getting many passing yards in this game, but I just think their run game will overpower the Cowboys and keep them off the field.
I think what you just said is why I don't think so. Their offensive line is poor.
Yeah,
I don't think you can get Derrick Henry going. I don't think, and Lamar can have some big runs. That's always going to happen. But there's fools on that Cowboys team that can run him down.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope they put Micah Parsons in spying. That's why I hope they.
I think you should be blitzing Micah Parsons from middle linebacker the whole game. Put him in the middle and let him go. He will eat the inside of that defense up so fast.
He's also our best run blocker. He's also our best run defender. Sorry, in terms of run block grades, he's our best run blocker this year as well. So I think, like, look, I hated when they put him a middle linebacker 2 seasons ago. I hated when they weren't rushing him from defensive end, and I don't want them to do it every single game. But I just think in this game, that's such an important position. Put your best player there. Do you know what, Jay? You've talked me into it. I'm changing the spreadsheet. Cowboys for the win. We them boys. This our year, baby. Come on.
All right. You could have left the this our year out, but I'm with you. This is your game.
Another thing that I just looked up, Jay, was making sure that the tight end room is good because Jake Ferguson is back from injury for the
Wisconsin.
One of my questions was, can the Cowboys find another offensive outlet apart from CeeDee Lamb? And Jake Ferguson is that offensive outlet, Jay.
And Brandon Cooks might be running wild this week because you're going to have to double CD, and then what do they do in that back end? I don't know.
Yeah, also, when's the time for Dalvin Cook, Jay? That's what I want to know. Like, is this game the last game before we see Dalvin Cook? God, I hope so.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I understand.
Why is he not on the active roster getting at least 10 touches a game?
Yeah, because I understand putting Deuce Vaughn in. Like, I really like Deuce Vaughn. Like, I get it. But Dalvin Cook is better. Like, Dalvin Cook is better than Deuce Vaughn at this current moment. And Deuce Vaughn can do some nice gadget plays, but they're not running gadget plays with Deuce Vaughn. They're running him as a proper running back. So if our 3 best running backs in our practice roster and on our team are Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Rico Dowdle, which still isn't a great running back room, but it's better.
Now, Zeke is probably better at this, but Dalvin Cook picks up the blitz very well. So you could put him out there on passing downs because he catches well and can make a lot of stuff happen once you get the ball in his hands. I don't know why Dalvin Cook's not on the active roster.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think this will be the last week before we see him, although a lot of cryptic stuff saying he will be on the active roster by tomorrow. So, let's see. So, Jay, moving on to Seattle now. Seattle are playing the Miami Dolphins. This is another one of your locks. Seattle are minus 4.5 point favorites.
I stick with it. They're not going to, they can't play quarterback.
Yeah, I was surprised I've put here as the Seahawks defense being disrespected here. I think this is just straight disrespect for the Seahawks defense. I think the Seahawks defense is an excellent defense, has been so far this year, was towards the end of last year. I think their secondary is fantastic. And I'm just not sure what the Dolphins' offensive plan is going to be. And if they do get it within 4.5 points, then it has been prove it time for Mike Daniels. Like Mike Daniels has proved his worth if they get it within 4.5 points in their current offensive situation. For me, their offensive plan is just going to be run Devin Achane and then run Tyreek Hill out the backfield and run Jalen Waddle out the backfield, which isn't a terrible offensive plan. But if it's just run, you can sell out on the run, and the Seahawks defense is good enough.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of screens and pitches and like a lot of smoke and mirrors trying to get yards for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that one. Not much more to say, and not much really to say on this one apart from whose injuries will affect them the most. It's the Rams versus the 49ers. The 49ers are -6.5 points, and I can't remember how many injuries are in this game, but I'm pretty sure it's 14 from players who have started for either of those teams in the past 2 years.
The problem is, though, is there's 2 big injuries on that Rams offensive line, and that is fucking huge. So that's a big fucking problem. And they have 2 number 1 receivers, both out, right? That's a problem. Give me the 49ers minus the 6.5. I hate the spread, but they are just going to dog walk. And they're especially going to dog walk them because I don't remember the exact numbers, but Kyle Shanahan does not lose back-to-back games.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan off a loss is pretty crazy, but Sean McVay against Kyle Shanahan is also pretty crazy.
Yeah, but it's hard without your 2 offensive linemen and your 2 receivers. Yeah.
I definitely agree with you, but I also think the Rams' run game is better than people give it credit for, with Kyren Williams as well. I'm going to say they get within 6.5. I think the 49ers...
Before you lock this in, I just want to throw one thing out there.
Go for it.
49ers are going to stack the line with 8 and 9 in the box because there's nobody to throw to. So that's all I want to throw out there before.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you. I think Stafford is good enough to pick up on that and check out. They must have some people who can just run and catch, right? So there's got to be a time where Stafford is just going to throw the ball into a place where it'll be okay, you know. But I think the Rams' injuries are much bigger. I just think Sean McVay versus Kyle Shanahan often comes off well enough for them not to lose by more than 6.5. I still think the 49ers are going to win, though. Jay, we both picked the Rams for our Super Bowl pick at the start of the season. How are you feeling about that right now?
It's not over. All they got to do is make the playoffs, so it's early.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we both said the Rams are going to start slow and build towards the end.
I still had the 49ers winning the division, remember, and I have the Rams going to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, definitely. I think I don't know how bad a lot of the injuries are. Hopefully they'll get their players back by the end. And I think Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, Kyren Williams is enough to carry them through some games that they should win.
This is just a bad matchup, I feel, this week.
Yeah, if there's a team I don't want to have problems on my offensive line with, it might be the 49ers, might be one of the big ones. It's like the teams that you don't want to face with a bad offensive line are the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Browns,
the Vikings.
I think, and the Vikings right now because of how much they just get pressure from Brian Flores' defense, definitely. Jay, the Cardinals are playing the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are -3 point favorites. Jay, can the Cardinals defense hold on to the Lions?
No. And the reason is the Lions are 13-0 after a loss, and they beat the spread in every one of those 13 games in their last 13 losses. And so give me the Lions to bounce back in this game and -3. I think the Cardinals are playing great. There's just something really weird about that stat that got me. And I'm like, there's something about teams who repeatedly don't lose 2 in a row. Like they fix the problem and they come out and play. Like I said, I really like what the Cardinals are doing, but I got the Lions coming back in a get back game this week to get right.
Yeah, that's a great stat, Jay. Great work. Yeah, good stats. But I think stats like that are meant to be broken. I think the Cardinals are playing excellent football. I think Kyler Murray's possibly playing some of the best football of his career, going back to when he was MVP Kyler going towards MVP. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. breaking out is a huge deal for them. I think that's a massive, massive.
I don't think
deal.
he'll have that kind of game against that Lions defense because he's not as fast as I would like him to be.
Yeah, but again, I've put in the questions. I said, will we get week 1 or week 2 Marvin Harrison Jr.? And I don't think it needs to be week 2 Marvin Harrison Jr. If we get something in the middle again, I think that is good enough. Trey McBride is an excellent tight end in terms of the catch point. The other wide receiver, I can't remember his name, is also having a good season. Mark Wilson is also having a good season. And most importantly, James Conner. At the moment, for the past 2 seasons, James Conner might be one of the most underrated running backs in the league. Now, for me, the big question is, can the Cardinals scheme away from Aiden Hutchinson? I think Aiden Hutchinson may shut down some of the Cardinals' playbook, so we'll see where that goes there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's looking hard to scheme away from him right now, but we'll see. It also, kind of like boxing, styles make fights, right? And what style are you going to see the Cardinals try to run out there? Like I said, they've been blocking well for Kyler too. I just think you take away Marvin Harrison, you take away the run, and the Cardinals are fucked.
Yeah, and yeah. I think that's a fair enough point. I'm not saying that this wouldn't be a big upset, if they came out and they won. I'm feeling good about the Cardinals.
I wouldn't be shocked if they won, but I'm just saying there's something that just feeling wise got me when I was reading those. They just don't fuck around when they come off a loss.
Yeah, now to one of my locks, Jay. One of my locks here.
It was both of ours.
Both of our locks. And it's only got better since we did that. It was at 3.5 points when we picked it. The Chiefs are now only favored by 3 against the Atlanta Falcons. Jay, has the hype for the Atlanta Falcons switched too quickly?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's all people betting on the Falcons on this game. I think that's what changed the line. Yeah. There's a lot of bets came in. I'm not sold on the Falcons because, again, I think they should have lost that game. I think I'll beat a dead horse. Saquon catches that ball, that game is over. So it's, and then people can go back and go, if they just took the points in the first quarter or whatever, sure. But then the whole game's called differently. I do know for a fact if Saquon catches that ball, they just kneel on it and the game's over. So I don't know. I'm not on the train yet of the Falcons. And I think that the Chiefs defense may make Kirk Cousins look pedestrian again. And I'm not worried about Bijan Robinson because he's only showed me something in 3 games in his whole career.
Wow. Yeah. I think with the switch to the hype for the Falcons, let's remember week 1 is one of the worst games you could have possibly seen from this Atlanta Falcons team. They were horrendous. Kirk Cousins looked like he couldn't move, and it looks like they got it right. And I do think they've got it right. And I think they got back on track with the style of play that they should be doing. So Bijan Robinson that you just mentioned, I think they should be running the offense through him. I think that really helps them with things like play action as well. But this is basically the same Chiefs defense outside Snead that played last year and was a top 5 defense last year. And people slept on all the time last year. And people think that because they don't have stars on the defensive line, they don't get pressure. They get pressure. They get pressure the whole time. And I think the Chiefs haven't quite hit their stride yet. They're 2-0. They've played against 2 of the better teams in the AFC, in the Ravens and the Bengals. I think that this is a step too far for the Falcons at this point. The Falcons defense looked better than we thought it would do against the Eagles, 100%. And the offensive line looked better against the Eagles than we thought it would do. I think -3 is an absolute gimme. I would bet. I think I'm gonna bet on this game.
And if you're gonna try to run it through Bijan Robinson, everything's gonna have to bounce to the outside because you're not going up the middle on Jones and that fucking defense. Also, the Falcons are going to get quick screened to death because of the running back situation. And I know they signed Kareem Hunt, but they're not activating him this week, it sounds. So it's going to be Steele back there and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I believe. I think you're just going to get quick screened to death with fucking Worthy. And I think you're going to see tight end screens to Gray. And I think that's going to be their running game, and I don't think the Chiefs defense or the Falcons defense can handle what they're going to get put on by that speed of the Chiefs.
Yeah, so I think a -3 there is an absolute gimme. So give it to us both. It's in the spreadsheet. Jay, one of the games that I found the hardest to pick this week, I thought, and there's a few games in there where I don't really like the spread. And I think this is one of them. The Buffalo Bills are -5 point favorites against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jay, who is Trevor Lawrence? Who is he? Where is he?
I love the spread, and Trevor Lawrence is a guy who always starts slow. He always starts out the season slow. I love the spread. And the reason I love the spread is because give me them Jags -5.
I ended up taking the Jags -5 as well. As we went through it, I think the Jags have been really unlucky so far this season. I think against the Dolphins, there was just a couple of plays. There was a peanut punch in there. There's like a couple of plays that didn't go their way. And last week, I forgot who they lost against last week. The Jags. The Jags lost against the Browns last week in a game that they should have won, but the Jags are a good defense, man. Like, they're a good defense. I think they've just been a bit unlucky. And with me, like, people who've watched the show enough know that we're not big fans of the Buffalo Bills, and we think that Josh Allen is still an amazing quarterback, but just not on the same plane as people like Patrick Mahomes, where people seem to like to put him. So I don't think you can play hero ball against this Jag defense. I think it's too good. And I think the Jags run game is also good enough to beat up the Bills. And also, I'm not sure how much credit to give the Bills for their week 2 win. Like, they played a really good game, but Tua threw it away, and then Tua left the building. So I'm not sure how much credit to give them for that. So give me the Jags as the +5 as well. Okay, and then the final game, and I think this is the most ridiculous spread of the week. This is one of my locks here. Jay, the Cincinnati Bengals are playing the Washington Commanders, and the Bengals are favored by 7.5 points. That's the biggest spread of the week. What have the Bengals shown to give them this big of a spread?
It's history. This is where the Bengals come back. Week 3. This is when the Bengals get it together. The Commanders have not looked great. Jaden Daniels is good. It looks like he's proven to me he can play in this league, but they don't have the players yet. And that's not to say that Scary Terry isn't fucking great and different things, but they don't have the players. I actually am against you on the opposite of you on this one. I think the Bengals come back together. Chase and Burrow get clicking. See big performances from T. Higgins. Give me the huge spread with the Bengals -7.5.
That's a huge spread at this point of the season.
I think they win by 14.
Wow. Okay. So T. Higgins is confirmed to be back. It seems he isn't listed on the injury report, so he's definitely playing, which obviously hurts my stats. I just think the Commanders' run game is actually good enough to make sure that this isn't a 7.5 point spread with Jaden Daniels out there as well. I think they have a good run game, and I know the Bengals come back in week 3. I know that happens. The Burrow Chase connection looks so off that I'm not sure about that. We'll see where they get to. I think that -7.5 is way too big. Jay, that is our preview of the Sunday games for week 3 done. We just have 2 more segments to go, and we'll speed run these segments. But Jay, it's time for rookie QB watch, special rookie QB watch this time. It's normally in our review show, but Jay, how long does Bo Nix have whilst he looks this bad? How long are they going to keep with Bo Nix?
All year.
Yeah, they've got to keep with him all year. Yeah, I think people have said. Yeah, I think some people have said, "Oh, you've got to get rid of him. Like, he's clearly not right for the NFL."
Sean Payton is patient.
Yeah, it's like, well, apart from unless your name's Russel Wilson.
Well, he didn't want him to begin with, so that's just starting out bad. But
yeah, definitely, I agree with you on that one. I think you've got to play him for the next 2 years. He's your rookie QB, and if he makes it, great, and if he doesn't, then you just have to start again. And there's not much you can do about that. That's why you took him. And to be fair to the Broncos, that's what was left for them on the board. Jay, what did you make of Drake Maye's first snaps in the NFL? We've already alluded to it, but what did you make of him?
To quote Denny Green, he is what I thought he was.
Outside of the terrible offensive line play, I didn't think he was horrendous. I just thought there's some accuracy issues, there's some composure in the pocket issues, and like on that Patriots team, I'm not sure what to make of anything, to be honest. When we're out there, he doesn't have much to throw to. And Jay, our final question on rookie QB watch. We're not going to talk about Caleb Williams this week. Not going to talk about him. We've already kind of spoken about him. But Jay, is the Commanders the right team to unlock Jaden Daniels' full potential?
Yes, but not this year.
Yeah, I think that too. I think with Jaden Daniels, I think what I've seen from him in the run game looks great. Like what I've seen from him in the run game looks dangerous. It looks NFL fast. It looks great. I haven't seen anything from him in the pass game, but I just don't think they're letting him unleash the pass.
He's thrown more dimes than Justin Fields.
Well, ones that didn't come back for flags, I guess. But for Jaden Daniels, I'm not sure whether we're going to be allowed to see that full potential with the Commanders this year. Hopefully, they'll be able to get a decent offensive line to actually hold him upright for long enough to make a down the throw pass next year. And Jay, we always finish out the shows in our preview weeks now with some fantasy players to watch. For me, again, fantasy player to watch, Jaden Daniels, I think is a huge fantasy player to watch. I think
there's a shock. Whose team is he on?
He's on my team.
Oh,
everybody.
Yeah.
Just so you know. But I think it's more of a player to watch rather than I think he's going to have like amazing fantasy points, just because I think you can get such good value with Jaden Daniels. At the moment, I think there'll be, if you don't have him, I think there'll be certain members of teams that will be willing to trade Jaden Daniels. Like he might be on somebody's bench in one of the smaller league teams. I think you might be able to get Jaden Daniels for some decent trade picks if you look for him in there. I think another player to watch in terms of fantasy in the same game, Jay, is T. Higgins. T. Higgins has returned, and if you're looking to up your roster with wide receivers, T. Higgins is a huge play merchant. I think if he comes back and is looking healthy, I think T. Higgins is definitely one for you to watch. And for me, I think another huge player is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't like put up those big numbers that we have been used to seeing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But he's been sneaky underneath. And I think against this Cardinals defense, he might have a big game. So they're my 3 fantasy players to watch. Jay, who are your 3?
My first 2 fantasy players to watch both play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Xavier Worthy, bubble screens, deep passes. You're going to see it this week. And for your flex, put in the fullback as your running back. Steele, he's going to pick up the slack for Isaiah Pacheco. We've already seen some really good things on him and that Andy Reid trusts him. So I think those are 2 big ones to watch. And I think another guy to watch just for fantasy, even though they're going to lose, Lamar Jackson picks up big fantasy points this year or this week because he's the only thing that's going to keep the chains moving for Baltimore.
Yeah, I think with Lamar Jackson, like this might be one of the games where he just goes crazy. Like he might
run for over 100 yards and still lose.
Yeah, and I could see that happening. I could see that happening as well. I think he might have a very similar game to what he had in week 1. So, yeah, I guess that is it for our week 3 preview. Enjoy your week, guys. And Jay, send us out like you always do.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe. Make sure you check out the playlist Freestyle Friday. Make sure you check out MMA Underground. Make sure you keep an eye. We got big things coming up. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.